Sierra, and welcome back to the plant department here at Josh's Frogs. Today we're going to be going over a few tips and tricks to have healthy plants and some signs of stress you can look for on your plants at home. So there are a lot of people I meet that are afraid to get houseplants because they're 100% certain that they are going to kill them. Well, that is not always the case as long as you know what your plant needs. So there's a few things you can do to make sure that your plants live a long, healthy life. Number one, very first thing you should do before you even get your plant, or I guess after you obtained it, is look at the plant and figure out what kind of plant it is. So most of our plants, if you order from a kit, will come with a name of the plant with the genus and the species, and you can go online and go to our website too and look at any of the plant care needs, its light needs, its water needs, things like that. You can also find many plant blogs that will go over individual plants and the care they need. That's a very important step in knowing the lighting and the watering needs of your plant right after you get it. Second thing that you really want to conquer when you're getting ready to have some house plants is knowing how much water it needs. Overwatering and underwatering are probably the number one reasons that house plants die. So let's take a look at some plants here in different stages of water stress. So this is a spider plant here, and it is a nice fully watered spider plant, very buoyant. Here we have a spider plant that has not been watered maybe for a few days or so, and it's looking a little lackluster. And then lastly, we have a plant that has been out for quite some time. He's very dry. So let's talk about what happens to your plant when you leave it out to dry. Plants use their roots to suck up water. Let's see if we can see the roots on this plant. You may not be able to. Okay, there we go. Plants use their roots to suck up water and nutrients, and they use that as kind of like their blood pressure inside of them. So when they have lots of water and they're perfectly happy, they will be stiff and upright. But if they start to lose water and they start to lose that internal pressure, that is when they start to wilt. So you see this guy here, and if you look at his soil, you can see visibly that it is starting to dry out. A really good test to see if your plant is starting to dry out is take your finger and just stick it a good inch or two into the dirt and feel around and see if it's wet. Sometimes the top, looking directly at the top, is not the best indicator because that will dry out first sometimes. So you want to really get your finger in there and feel, and that is definitely dry and ready for water. If we go back to this one, put my finger down in there, I can still feel moisture, even though he could probably still be watered some. And then this last guy here, I'm sure you can see he's completely dry, very, very brittle. So all of these guys could use a little bit of watering. Sometimes plants do things like wilting when they're dry, when they're without water for some time. Like this is a Pilea aluminum that is a bit of water stress, and these guys get quite dramatic when they are without water for some time. So you can see he's wilting like he's about to die. But I assure you, once you add some water to it and they get that kind of pressure going back inside of them, they stand right back up. So there's a few different styles of watering you can do. My most preferred method is a method called bottom watering. And that's where you take a big container like this and you just set your plants inside of it. It's really not very time consuming, very easy way to water plants, especially if they've been without water for some time. So to bottom water, what you want to do is we're going to just set them right in our container here. We're going to put our Pilea in here too. And you want to take some water. So the kind of water you're using on your plant is also important. This water here that we have at our Josh's Frogs facility has been treated and is safe for plants and animals. But if you're using tap water at home, you want to make sure you're using some kind of dechlorinator to get rid of any of those chlorides in the water and process it and make it safe for your pets. So since this water is treated already, we're just going to go ahead and pour it in there. You don't pour it directly into the soil. This is why it's called bottom watering, because the water goes up through the bottom all the way up to the top. You saw how the spider plant's leaves or roots went all the way to the bottom of the pot. So its roots are going to be able to suck up water through the pot. So you're gonna fill it up, maybe a couple inches, 2, 3. Plants may start to float, especially if they don't have any water, and as the soil soaks in water, they'll sink down to the bottom. It's usually a good sign that it's time to pull them out of the water once they're all firmly sat down on the bottom. So we're gonna balance all these guys here. And then just leave them in there for about 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes. Pull them out, set them on a tray to dry, and then you can do that about once a week. You wanna be careful, you don't do it too often, because overwatering can also cause problems for your plants. Very similar to what underwatering can look like sometimes, except for with overwatering, the leaves might look a little bit puffier, so look for that. If you don't want to do bottom watering, you can do top-down watering too. If you are top-down watering your plants, I suggest keeping them on a little saucer. So like our spider plant here, it can be useful for telling you how much water your plant needs. So if you are top-down watering, and you're getting right in the soil there, water right there till it goes down to the bottom. And what you want to look for to know if your plant is ready to be watered, you want to see if there's water coming out of the bottom there. And there is, tell me the water is going all the way through. And then we'll just leave him there to soak for a few minutes. And then if you're leaving them in this tray, make sure you take it out and pour it out. Plants usually don't like having consistent water on their roots. That will cause fungal infections and possibly hurt the plant long term. And another way you can water your plant, and especially if you have a plant like a fern, like this is a nice mother fern here, these guys are humidity loving plants. So as well as water, humidity is very important for plants. And to boost humidity in plants like ferns, what you can do is set them on a little tray of pebbles like this, and just set it in there. And then you can fill up the pebble tray, not quite to the top, but just enough to cover the pebbles, and then set the plant on there, and it gives them a little bit of a raise so that their roots aren't directly sitting in water, and it raises the humidity around them. So that's another really good way to keep your plants nice and watered. I also mentioned humidity is very important for plants. Grouping your plants together can help boost humidity around the plants. Also for plants like ferns, regular misting in between watering can also really help boost up their humidity. So we'll set that guy there. With over and under watering, you also want to think about the pot size of your plant. Having the right pot size for your plant can really help their growth. So we have a few different of our grow pots here. Let's take a look at some of these different sizes. A tiny little fairy pot. So this one's about a 2-inch pot. We have about, a 1-inch pot. We have about a 2-inch pot for this one. This is a 3-inch pot and a 6-inch pot. So these are all grow pots that you want to use and then put them inside of a decorative pot instead of just putting your plant directly in a decorative pot, because a lot of times decorative pots do not have one of the key features you need for plant growth, and that is drainage. So make sure all of the pots that you buy and you put your plants in have drainage points at the lowest part of the pot. You want to make sure there's no wells that water can get collected, and any excess water goes all the way through right down to the bottom. So when you're picking a plant or pot for your plant, make sure that it has drainage holes. Very important. Next thing you want to make sure is that it's not too big or too small. So here we have a philodendron cordatum that is definitely ready for a repot. So how do you know if your plant is ready for a repot? Couple of things. First, you can look at the bottom. You can see that this guy's roots are growing right out of the bottom. That's usually a very clear sign it's become root bound and is ready for a new pot. Another thing you can do is just grab it by the base here and pull it up, and you can see how all of its roots have started to grow up the side of the pot there. Another sign that it's ready to move on to a new home. So how big of a pot should we put it into? We don't want to put it in something too small, because that's essentially moving it down, and that's going to cramp the roots more. We don't want to put it in something too big, because once we water the plant, all of this extra soil is going to get waterlogged, and that will drown the roots over time. You want to put it in something that is just over an inch wider than the pot it's currently in. And we're going to do a quick little repot on our cordatum here. I have some potting soil. It's just a mix of sphagnum, peat moss, and perlite. So you want to maybe put a little bit of soil down in the pot just to cover its base. And I will sometimes wet it up because it will help the plant adjust to its new home if it's nice and moist. Got water coming out down there. Let's do it over this. There we go. So get that nice and wet, encourage the plant to go out and explore. So we can pull out our pot here. And this is a really good opportunity for you to look at the roots of the plant, see if there's any fungal infections or if there's any maybe pests that might been causing damage to the roots. This guy's roots look good. So I'm gonna give him a little light squeeze to break up some of the excess soil. And then you just put it right in there and fill in around the plant. You don't want to press down too much because you want the soil to be aerated. Oop. And then we're going to just add some water. For repotting plants, you want to make sure you get the water nice and saturated, but not soaking wet. Just enough to encourage the plant's roots to go exploring in this nice new soil. All right. So, got our nice replanted cordatum here. And these guys are still getting their water. So there's a few other kinds of plant stressors that you want to look out for. We have our Janet Craig here. Let's bring out some of our other guys here. I'll put that there. All right, so this is a Dracaena Janet Craig, and it has what we call sun stress. This is another kind of stressor that you might see on a plant that is outdoors or near a window that might have too much sun. So if we look at our plant here, you can see that it's got these little yellow stripes on it. It's starting to fade out in color. The older leaves are a bit dull. And that is a sign that this plant has been out in the sun for too long. Our plant care team noticed that and moved it in. So you notice that its new growth is looking nice and healthy. So this is a condition or a stressor that plants can rebound from. It's not all over, you just gotta move it to a new spot and it should rebound pretty well. Another kind of stress you wanna look out for are insect and fungal stress. So this is a Sigonium here, and if you notice on the leaves, it has these little gold dots, almost these discolorations on the leaves. And that is from a pest. What pests like to do is they like to get on the leaves and they suck out the chlorophyll, and that really pales out the leaf. So you can kind of see that on there. Also, pests will typically like to go for new growth. So this is a new rolled leaf. So if you're looking for pests on your plant, look close in there. This guy's been treated, so he's not gonna have any pests on him. He's recovering, but there's still some older leaves that show that damage. And then here is a pitcher plant, and you can see it's got some yellow spotting on it, and that is also from pests as they attach to the leaf and suck out the chlorophyll. And this guy's also doing really good, very good recovery on this one. So it's not all over if these things happen to your plants. You just have to know how to treat it. And most of the fungal or insect infections can be treated with a nice warm soap and water solution right on the leaf as a first effort. If that doesn't work, you can move on to dipping them in a 1 to 10 alcohol solution, or you can move over to some over-the-counter solutions like fungicide or neem oil is another thing you can buy to brush on the plant leaves to help deter any insects. This guy here is dealing with a fungal infection under the leaf. So sometimes you will see brown spots just like this. And these you can just go get an over-the-counter like fungal medicine. And lots of times it will get rid of the fungus and clear up the leaves. So there's no need to even prune them because they will go right away and thrive again. But sometimes there will be leaf loss with just growth over time. Stressors will sometimes cause a plant to lose its leaves. And you can tell when a plant is ready to lose its leaf because one, the leaf will be dark in color. And most of the time, if the plant's ready, you can just pull it off, no big deal. You do want to make sure you clear off any dead leaves that appear around your plant because that can encourage pests. And if you see a leaf, like our orbifolia, here's the Calathea orbifolia, you can see he has a leaf here that is starting to brown up and die off, and that's not going to do any good for the plant over time. So if you do have an assortment of house plants, it's probably nice to get a nice set of trimmers, because what you want to do is go right close to the base of the plant and just clip it and remove that leaf. It will be replaced pretty soon by a new leaf, and the plant isn't using the energy on this one anymore when it's not getting the same amount of energy back. Our spathiphyllum here is dealing with some yellowing leaves, which happens over time as plants grow. You can see this one's not struggling, it's growing new leaves, it's healthy, it's fine. But over time it will drop old leaves. So these, since they're ready to come off, most of the time you can just tug on them and they'll just come right off. I don't know if these yellow ones are gonna come off as easily. Yeah, but you can see that they're ready to come off. So if you can wait for the plant to just drop them, but if you want to, you can just go in there with your trimmers. Make sure your trimmers are clean. They haven't been touching any infected plants, because that is one way you can spread disease to your plants. So make sure your trimmers are clean. You just go around and right at the base there, just go in and clip it right off. Boop. Very good. So, pest checking, making sure you check for your pets. Watering schedules, very important. The correct pot size. These are all little things you need to make sure you remember if you want healthy, happy plants. You give your plants all these things, most of the time they will thrive. Let's check on our little pilea here. He's sprucing up a little bit. Probably needs a little bit longer to soak. All right. Hopefully you guys got a few really good tips and tricks for how to take care of your house plants at home. Visit us on our website or any of our blogs. We have a lot more helpful tips and tricks for the plants you can buy or the animals you might want to pair with them. Once again, my name is Sierra, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thanks so much for watching this video. Here at Josh's Frogs, bringing nature to your doorstep is more than just our mission, it's our passion. We want you to have the most successful experience possible, so we're going to be here for you before, during, and after your purchase, whether that's with our captive-bred animals, plants, insects, or the wide variety of their care products on our website. You always have access to our dedicated customer service team, on-site nature experts, hundreds of free articles via our blog, and many more videos right here on our YouTube channel, so be sure to subscribe. We're always happy to help. Just shoot us an email or give us a call. You can find all of this information and more at joshsfrogs.com. Thanks again, and see you next time.